the mind. Our focus is extrovert rather than introvert. But I like this quote of Milton, where he says, mind can create heaven of hell, and same mind can create hell of heaven. In other words, the world is offered to us, and how we interpret this world is so much dependent on ourselves. And we'll try and explore this area in some detail today. And of course, we will be using the whiteboard. Keep it ready, you know. But first, I want to give an example, one story. In this story, there is a fox, and this fox is early morning going on his, you know, morning walk, and he sees his shadow, and he says, "Wow, this shadow, my shadow, it is so big, and since the shadow is so big, I must be big, and I didn't realize I'm so big." So he decided I should look for the elephant because I'm so big. To eat anything small is just lack of self-respect. So he was looking for the elephant, and by the end of the day, he remains hungry. That's the story. What does it tell us? It is our story, and our story because we all create shadow. We have some image of ourselves, and this image can be very, very big. And as we create a big image, we create, you know, demands. We are looking for elephants, and more chances of disappointments and crisis. We can create hell of heaven just by we creating this big shadow. Let me give some examples of this, and that will help us understand this area and maybe observe the shadows in ourselves. The success is if we are able to observe the shadows in ourselves. As was mentioned in the beginning, very welcome to interact. I'd like you to ask questions or share, you know, all along. Don't have to wait at the end. So here, was a example, and this is an example of one lady, very privileged, very successful, from special family. So here is a lady who can speak about her wealth and her diamonds and her famous connections, and this is the way this lady is. And each time I met her, she had some unhappiness and she had some complaints about something in her life. And when I would hear that, it appeared very, very small, but for her it was a big thing, and she couldn't easily drop it. So much so that it created a big problem in time, that her, you know, all family trying to help her, and she's feeling she cannot be made happy. One time, I remember, she was talking of something like this, and it appeared so trivial, but she was going on and on unhappy. And that time there was a newspaper in front of me, and there's something was going on, starvation or something like this in some other place. I just sort of pointed it to her to say that see your situation in the, you know, in the context of what is happening in the world is a bit like that, This is not a thing to worry about. There are people who are hungry. And she said, I am not them. And I didn't understand what she was saying at that time, but later I realized what she was meaning. I am different. I deserve something different. Why are you comparing me to, why are you showing me their photograph? It is them. They go through that kind of life, and I am different. So I said, okay, that's the way things are. So that was one scene, one lady. One time, I saw her in the morning, and I saw a young man in the evening. And this young man, I am talking, someone who is possibly 16-year age, in a wheelchair. A mother had brought him in a wheelchair. In some program, the other lady, I was seeing her as a patient, and this boy, had come, in a bit like a talk. And during the program, he was all along sort of with his smart eyes and very alert, and taking part, interactive. And at one point, he said, "Life is a wonderful gift." And of course, his eyes said it also. Life is a wonderful gift for him. But it made me also question. He was not saying this because he has read it somewhere. He was sharing his experience, and I was sort of saying, what makes mm, this lady be so unhappy, and this boy, is saying that this life is a wonderful gift. That lady, everything is going good in her life. Everything, every aspect of life is going good, and she says, "I'm so unlucky." And this boy, where there are inherent limitations, there are physical limitations, and he says, "This life is a wonderful gift." So, do you want to tell me what is going on? What is it that makes this mm, man, this boy, say life is a wonderful gift, and the other says she's so unlucky? I want to hear from you.
Feel free to type thoughts. Different expectations. So the woman had far different, higher expectations of life than the boy. Maybe that's one explanation.
Yeah, one way to see this is the subject is subject of shadows, what we spoke. This lady possibly has created a big shadow about herself, you know, and as was said, someone creates a shadow, and so here you create an image of yourselves based upon something. Like, the husband is very famous, so creates one shadow, famous husband. Another shadow is based on wealth she has got, another shadow. And then another shadow based on her car is so big, so another shadow. So I am so important. Look at this, look at the shadow. And so she has created these many shadows. And with big shadows, she's looking for the elephant. And you don't get the elephant. and it creates a huge disappointment. Whereas that boy possibly has got no shadow or small shadow, and so he's not looking for elephant, and there is a greater appreciation of what is happening. Giving the example that that lady, she may say, I'm so important that I deserve a gift like this. And someone else gives a gift, like this. She says, why are you giving me a gift like this? Look at that shadow, I deserve a much bigger gift, and so she's unhappy. Whereas that boy, you know, if someone gives a small thing like a card or pen, he thinks it is such a wonderful thing because he was not expecting anything. He was having no demands. She feels she deserves, she makes an appointment with some doctors or therapy, and she feels she deserves some half an hour, and that they should create in some 15 minutes for her. And they create just 5 minutes. So she feels, look at this, I'm so important, and these people don't give any time. So unhappy. Whereas this boy is so happy if someone just says hello to him, not expecting anything. And this is at every area of the life. I will see that there are the shadows. Shadows interpret. Shadows are there to assess what is going on. And as I was watching this, or reflecting on this, it made me reflect on myself. And I realized I am more like that lady rather than that boy. I was talking about all kinds of subjects, love and happiness and bliss. And, I had spiritual knowledge, but I was observing that there are big shadows. And this is a secret life of the mind, shadows. You don't observe them, but you observe them indirectly. And when there are suddenly these disappointments come, I say, where are these disappointments coming from? And these disappointments are coming because there is a shadow, some demands in this world. It made me reflect what it will be like not to have a shadow. And I experimented, no shadow, and may I ask you, if no shadow, how will I know? Even for 5 minutes, I want to experiment with this, no shadow. How do you come to know about this? What will be the first sign for 5 minutes, no shadow? Words are right, no shadow. Yes, I can say. And someone might say no ego, but something more. Shadows
Me,
are ego, yeah? That's what we are meaning here. Different identities. But how will you know if you want to say to yourself, for 5 minutes, I want to experiment what it is like. There are no shadows.
a wonderful meditation offer, actually. Immediate response was happiness, and another response, no desires and no expectations. Like that boy, it was just gratitude with small things, but even if there were no uh, gifts, it's almost like he was in the gratitude state.
If there are no shadows, or answers are good, if there are no shadows, then the deeper attitude is that the world doesn't owe me anything. And world includes the whole lot, people, position, possessions, the whole lot. World doesn't owe me anything. There is no demand of any kind from this world. Some use the language, I deserve something. I deserve from where? On what ground you deserve anything? This world is a foreign world, and it has no obligation to give me anything. This is a position. So when I said for a few minutes, I said, let me experiment with no shadow. That is the feeling that came, that you demand nothing, and you internally understand deserve nothing, and of course expect nothing and demand, you know, desire nothing. You are coming in that space, zero shadow. And the moment you come in that state, when I came in that state, everything appeared like a gift. Everything appeared like a wonderful gift. As was said, small things. The very fact that someone is there, is not a friend, but someone is alive, walking in the same planet as me. It appeared like a gift. And then there is a tree here in front of me. I was appreciating. It is like a new kind of, it appeared for me. It is first time I'm appreciating this moment, and it's what appeared very ordinary got divinized just by coming in that space of zero shadow. And I also felt at that time, wow, not many people know about this big secret, of how we can change, what is so ordinary into divine, by getting, ultimately it is on the mind. You're understanding the secret, area function that is happening in the mind. It also made me, this contrast was so big. It made me reflect on how this our positioning is in this world. This world, today, if you listen to the news, find out what is happening on the planet, you will find that there are not millions, but billion, more than a billion people on this planet. They do not get the meal. They do not know if they are going to eat today or not. We are talking about more than a billion people on the planet. There are many people. They will be in your own town, maybe on your own street, who say that no one speaks to them. The thousands, no one speaks. They don't have any friends for whatever reason. Maybe their own behavior or whatever, but they say they don't have friends. There are many people, in almost in every country, who don't have a passport, but they don't have a legal existence on this planet. They can't get a passport. Now, we have been lucky. I have been lucky. There is no real issue about food at all this life. And there is no real issue about, the basic things of this life. I've got many friends, and I have no problem with nationality. There is legal existence. Been lucky all this life. So many decades now. Been so lucky. So if I don't get it anymore now, it is fair, very fair. Someone else gets a chance. They get food and they get some friends. I'm not a huge loser. Logic tells me this. But at a very practical level, what really happens? If I've been lucky, then I get into this entitlement. Like that lady, she said, I'm not them. So they are them. They deserve something like that. But I'm someone different, you know. So the same happens with me because I've been lucky. I use that for creating a shadow, and then the shadow, as if takes it as normal, that he should be having cakes every day, and he should be having this life, and they should have friends, and that the shadow is getting bigger, and then one day someone is not a friend. You feel as if huge injustice is happening to me. Shadows start to scream, and the suffering comes. We might think we are lucky to create that shadow, or we are clever, not necessarily are lucky. We are clever to create a shadow and to create demands. That I deserve this, I deserve this, and I am. And others also run along those, my hype that I create. But what really happens when you are going in that direction? You are losing that wonder that is given to us. One without a shadow is experiencing the wonder of every moment, the gift that exists all around. One with the shadow, life becomes misery. There's a huge difference between that lady and young boy. So more shadows we create, don't become clever, but we become like that lady, end up in misery. So let me first hear some thoughts from you. Is it like that? Anyone creates any shadows?
There is agreement with the concepts for sure that we end up creating shadows and end up in a spiral of wanting more and more and not achieving it. And there was a comment about what would it be like, that mind. Someone commented, well, it's not having a blank mind because that doesn't mean there are no shadows, because they lay low and we might just lose awareness of them. So it was a comment. There was a question. The mind is our tool, so can we adjust the mind with the mind itself?
Yeah, of course, adjusting. But most important area, what we are saying here, is observing this function of the mind. How we are creating shadows and how we are creating demands. Like an example, say someone has been your friend for 20 years, very, very good friend. And then she or he sends you a text, I don't want to be friend anymore. Life, uh, it can be complete misunderstanding, but that is the way it is. I don't want to be friend. I don't want to contact you anymore. Okay, so that is the message, and yeah, no more friend. What is your attitude there? Do you feel she is or he is unfair? Why is this? Why you're not doing this? You did this. That complaint comes. Shadow will, of course, will complain. Hmm? Have the attitude of complaint and feeling, yeah, unfair and disappointment and sorrow. But if there is no shadow, he says, thank you for being the friend for 20 years. Such a wonderful. And of course, no demands, no entitlement. You have freedom. And but when you feel like, we knock on the door anytime. But there will be no feeling of sorrow with it. It is the shadow that gets into the shadow sorrow. When there is no shadow, sorrow is removed. What remains is appreciation and gratitude. That that is always there underneath, but our shadows block it. So when you remove the shadows, you feel there is gratitude of everything that happened, and it is okay. It is a different life. There is more silence and more solitude. That is different. It has its own beauty. So he appreciates the journey. And same thing applies to everything in life. Someone dies, some job comes, job goes. You don't get into the shadow with it and feel that I am the one who should be having a certain job, forever. No, and that job was then, and it was nice, the gift that comes, goes, but you are without shadow. When we use the language of soul consciousness and body consciousness, so soul is you are not having any of these shadows, not even a shadow based on the body. And that is like a really very, very high stage. You are seeing yourself as a total visitor on this world, not creating shadow based on anything. Your qualities and your what you did yesterday, nothing. No shadow based on anything. And so everything becomes a wonderful gift. Just like that boy said, life is a wonderful gift. You feel every moment is a wonderful gift. Life is a gift. The body is a gift. Presence of what you see in front of you and any human being or animal, it's a gift. The journey is a gift. It includes all kinds of things, different experiences. You are seeing them. You are not using the sort of, some management method to deal with it, but these are natural instincts. If the shadow is not there, these are natural reactions with which you feel. And it will be good to hear any other thoughts from you.
Yeah, welcome to share. I feel what was highlighted, that we think we're clever to create shadows, was very interesting. So that is absolutely the case. And even hearing this, it's just beginning to get a flavor, but it's as if a freedom. I could feel it right now, and it'd be interesting to hear if others have this, just to even contemplate that zero demand. It's totally as if counterintuitive, because you think, oh, the more I appear deserving, and I remember being in the States and one advert said, text demand to this number and get your free such and such. We're encouraged in this culture to have these kind of feelings, but actually at a practical level, reducing those expectations, you get the best. You haven't changed anything outside, just the shift. And yes, I wonder if anyone would have a question. Does that make you vulnerable in any way? Does it make you too passive? Do you have any thoughts on that?
The statistics tells us, and just simple observation tells us that we are more at the receiving end. We receive a lot more than what we give. This applies to everyone on the planet. For example, I was in one city last week. Let us just taking an example. I spent, say, 24 hours in that city. Hanover, let me take the example, Hanover. So I arrived there, I meet people. There was a internet system, there were, cars and food that was offered, and the flight. I did not do anything not to organize those flights. What I mean is there is a airport. Someone had to build that airport, and so that there is a flight. So much has gone by having that flight system. For people to take off. The current staff and the engineers and scientists, they all have created that craft. And same thing applies to internet. So many people have been working and are still working so that I can use internet. And cars, people have used. And people there, it's a 24 hours is a huge gift for me. What have I given? You know, I can say almost nothing. You know, I just go there and I'm at the receiving end of the whole thing. Company of people and everything else is a bonus. And this is the way our life is. We are receiving because of the work done by the past generations, and what is roads are created, systems are created, you know, and we can be just missing, going past it, and busy complaining that something is not as perfect as it happens in some other country or some other city, and miss on what is offered to us, miss the positive, and change heaven into hell. That is possible. Bigger the shadow, we change heaven into hell.
And even our own environment, the street in which we live, we didn't have to build it. And there are many systems we are taking the benefit from, and we're not contributing to those. So yes, just to even create a list or go through those things and have the appreciation for it. Because in some places the systems work, but if there's some slight fault, then there is an entitlement that why are we getting this defect? But there are many countries where systems are quite inefficient. So there's in a way more resilience and tolerance and flexibility. In some ways, they are more more able to appreciate what they have. You mentioned no shadows even about the body, and so this brings a very interesting awareness that for someone hearing these things for the first time creates a whole different awareness. And you also brought in no shadow even about the qualities, so not just the physical body, but the actions, the qualities, the way we do things. It would be interesting to hear a bit more about that. So how do you position yourself when you're reflecting on this?
Yeah, good question. And certainly like to expand on this. So let me show our world below that line. And here is the world where there is wealth, all there is wealth here, and there's position here, and there are people here, and everything, all the goodies are here. Let us take these gross examples. And what is possible for me is to create a shadow, my self-respect. I associate myself with that in a deep level. So I use this world that is outside of me. What color should I choose? I'm using this world outside of me to define myself. Me. The word me, I'm using it for this That is what the shadow is. My shadow is created based on those dollars. Shadow is created based on position. Shadow is created based on another person. Another shadow is created based on place. The the reality is that all of these things are associations, and that world changes in front of me. That position is there, position changes, and the people change, their mind change. And if I have created shadow based on all these things, that shadow is forever in the victim. He feels things are changing and he's the victim. So the cry that comes is the cry of the victim. When there is no shadow, then that situation comes, situation goes. There is no victim there to cry about it. So now let us come to qualities. There are qualities, the great virtues are there. And you got talents, and you got some high manners, many things are there. You are very intelligent. That's all very good. And you then create a shadow based on all these things. But what we are saying here is the real you is associated with all these things. That's why these things are not permanent. You know, Nothing wrong in having manners and using the talents and using virtues, nothing wrong with it. But to define yourselves based on it is not necessary. It is not compulsory to define yourselves. It is like a cheap way. You give yourselves self-respect based on those things. So here, one person is creating that shadow based upon virtues. The word value is used. We are using the word value. Some for certain virtues there, and etymologically, it is the word value is used because you can trade it in. You are using this. I have some values, and then you can use it. Like the Tesco credit points. To buy something else. So uh, so here those things are there externally, and it is like a cheaper way of leading a life where I define myself based on it. The moment you define yourself, then you become a victim, because someone can accuse you for not having those manners. Someone can speak of you, one who is, you know, without that talent, or you may lose the talent. None of these talents are forever. Someone else may have better skills than you. And so the life becomes miserable. Body is still another thing within this world, that is external world and changing world. Invisible traveler stays out of all these things. Invisible traveler. It is the most sensible, very intelligent. We also said even the actions. You have performed some actions. You might have saved 1,000 people. You have given the huge donations to many institutions. It's great. But if you are not creating shadow based on it, then you are clever. If you create shadow based on it, then you get trapped in that lower consciousness. And shadow will have its own life. Shadow is the one that creates heaven into hell.
There's a nice quote by Seneca, who was a Stoic philosopher, that said, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." So my understanding of that is, someone can say something once, but we can replay it in the mind and create imagination and expand on it 10 times, if not more. And then it's a whole department of what if, or regrets, or worrying about the future. So those things are not happening, but now this victim mindset is the form of that, isn't it? That is constantly looking for dangers and based upon something external that I can't control. So you mentioned invisible traveler, but it'd be good to understand more, because if we're just going about our lives in an ordinary way, we are always getting this limited uh, definition of the self reflected back to us, which is in a way holding us in seeing things, external labels and associations, as important. So I guess this is coming into the heart of what is the solution, is where to put the mind. How do you manage that, holding the secret life of the mind in amidst this world of labels and relationships, really?
At the immediate level, we have the option, say, for next 24 hours. We all are going to get into all kinds of life situations. And internally to have this introspection, that am I approaching this world with entitlement? Am I approaching it with demand? Do I feel I deserve something? Some friendship or someone's company? Do I have the demands? Someone's presence, this body? More you become free from this, and it's to experiment. And let me see that what was said for 5 minutes. Let me not try and experiment what it is like with zero shadow. And you will find what really happens when you remove the shadow. The victim is removed. That the victim is 100% tied with this shadow, victim mentality. And once you remove the victim mentality, there is nothing to complain. The same mind is then ruled by the noble mentality. This is a beautiful observation. We all will notice this. You stop this life of shadows for 1 minute, 5 minutes, and you discover straight away that we can approach the same world with very different attitude. And that is why you find glimpses you will get. You will get these glimpses where there's appreciation of this moment and richness. It cheers you. The presence of someone walking, appears cheerful, because without him, life would have been more, empty. So it is that someone is there, someone you can talk to, someone, there is life here. So you find some noise, sound, everything appears a wonderful gift, and to experiment. And this journey, this is what soul consciousness is. it is a journey in the direction of that dropping body consciousness. So we use the word sometimes, but drop body consciousness, drop ego. But practical side of it is you drop the victim mentality and you are experiencing the noble personality within you. And this goes with you. This noble personality is one that helps you to appreciate things and experience the richness inside. It literally changes the world as it is into heaven. It divinizes ordinary things of the world. What appeared ordinary into it gets divinized. I was thinking we can create some time to hear from some participants. I would
Yeah.
have liked to hear from Jean-Pierre. You know, do they create?
Yes. Just a question, and then it would be really nice to hear from others. Um, what do you think is the hardest shadow to notice or let go of?
Of course, it is all individual, but what is important for us is to whatever more we observe, life situations will come and you will observe the shadow that you have created based on something, and you see the demand that is there in some situation. More you do that, observe it and drop it, as if the clutter is removed. And once you remove the clutter, you can see the other clutter. You can see more clearly because there's now space, to see things. You become better at observing the other shadows. We have to start the process.
Yeah, that's helpful. Sent you a message on WhatsApp, Prashant. Now, yeah, I feel these two questions are very helpful. So you've got this, first of all, understanding, have I created a sense of entitlement? Have I created a demand? And to raise awareness. And then on the other hand, to go into the experience. What would the shadow-free life feel like? And that exercise earlier actually almost felt like leading a meditation. And then you're just experiencing it, you're feeling it. So I think these two sides are very good. And you mentioned soul consciousness, body consciousness, and for someone new, these are big concepts in the Raj Yoga philosophy, but the essence being to drop the victim. And it's not neutral then, it's actually replaced by the noble. So very, very nice to experiment with it. Yeah. Back to you, Prashant. If you wanted to guide a meditation or have any other suggestions.
I wanted to say, and if anyone want to, share or type, or if you want to, yeah.
Yes, if I may, I'd like to share something. I had the opportunity in my life to work in Asia, in the Chinese world. And one thing I discovered is that they bring you gifts, but all these gifts come with an expectation that is not revealed right away. It comes later. They place something on you, you're grateful, and they build on this gratefulness to try to extort a service or whatever. And it seems that life is a gift, but it also comes with some attachments. We take a job and we say, oh, wonderful, I'm going to make a nice income, I'll support my family, or I'll be able to progress and invest myself intellectually and so on. But it seems that the shadow, or the potential for a shadow, is built in a way, in everything that we do, in every step. And it takes a lot of wisdom to be able to observe and separate what is the true gift and what is something that comes from the environment or that comes from other people and so on. I wonder what your thoughts are on this.
Yes, at the moment it appears so inbuilt, and as was said earlier, people might even think they're clever in creating the shadows. Then there is competition to create shadows. What is required here is we see the bigger map, and we need to teach children to see the bigger map. And when we see the bigger map, we realize that we are temporarily associated with everything. And just like right now, if I go to a museum and I'm sitting in a very, very special chair there, I don't create a shadow based on it because I know I'm going to go in 5 minutes. In the same way, we need to see the big map, and in that, it appears I'm just associated with all these things for a very short time. There is an exit. I'm going to leave this. So also everyone else. But but I find it should look very strange for me to use those things that are so temporary for my self-respect and to create a image of myself based on it, and then they will be better once they are not deceived. Once they have seen the bigger map, they are not deceived into creating the shadows. Otherwise, our society is at present deceived. Does that help? Maybe Sarah want to add anything to this?
It's good to see the different situations we end up in. And yeah, it's not just east west, we're all in the same boat, but it manifests differently maybe. And so perhaps we also notice it when we're in a different culture because we're not always sure what is the implication of something done or said. But yeah, it feels like a constant awareness and checking because the ordinary pull and the current is to become familiar. So what I heard from the response was when we're experiencing the noble, then we are more inclined not to take the assumption from here. And there's such a fullness that you instinctively are not putting down those roots and creating those shadows. Of course, we're talking about a high stage, but it perhaps helps sharpen the reasoning inside. Because as Jean-Pierre picked up, it is a vigilance that is not a given in this world today. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, happy to create a few minutes of experiencing shadow-free minutes. And for this, we are seeing this big map. And on this big map, this whole physical world and this what is happening here, it all appears like a shot, as if it is happening for just 5 seconds. Journey of 500 years appears as if it is 5 seconds. And we are associated with it for a very short time. Becomes very, very clear that this traveler, one without shadow, he is loosely associated with everything of this world. And as a result, he is quite amused to see that there are things, there is a body, and there are, like this, there we can speak here and we can hear things. That's a gift. I don't know if the body will be there, whether we'll be able to speak next minute even, don't know. But right now I can make this body speak and can see things, of this world, see the colors, and the world appears very, very rich this moment. Different. One is it's a big technology in front of me, but the nature is in front of me. This moment, see, it is an extraordinary gift. We do not bring anything with us, all these things. So this moment is a gift. Next moment will be different gift. This invisible traveler loses nothing because he did not claim anything. And he did not bring anything with him. He doesn't need to fight for anything. He's appreciating everything. He's happy to come, happy to go. He understands that his natural state is positive. He doesn't need anything from external to make him happy. His nature is of contentment and appreciation and gratitude and wonder. He finds every moment is a wonder. He's appreciating just existence, joy of just existence. He also knows everyone is lucky. This is an extraordinary gift for everyone. And he also knows all are innately positive. All are good. Innately, everything is good and everyone is good. All he has done is experiment life without shadow. And there is no reason we have to limit it just for a few minutes. If the return is so big, the reward is extraordinary for this little effort. Everything is just as it is. World outside is just as it is. All we have done is have a different perspective of the mind. And in the process, understand the biggest secret, how to divinize what appears to be very ordinary. Option.
Thank you. We've got a lot to experiment with, and this honor of the guest that doesn't just bring ease, but brings like that inner heaven, and also implied it doesn't just stop with the mind and in the world, it has its reflection. So if we are all in this space and bring that in a way silent revolution, it will reflect in the outer world. So thank you so much for this opportunity, and good luck with the experiments. We will all be noticing more the shadow, but also knowing how to bring the light. We're just going to put in the chat, there's a retreat coming up. It's also online, 2 hours a day for 7 days. It will be picking up on some of the big concepts in Raj Yoga. So for those who are new to the ideas, and also those who want revision. So enjoy this shadow-free experiments. And Prashant has anything final to add?
No, enjoy the divinization of life and the world.
Thank you, and we'll meet again soon.